let's talk a little bit about Lustre Mist Furniture Polish. It's really kind of a versatile chemical that we can use for much more than simply furniture. The cool thing is the chemical makeup is wax. There is some forms of wax in there, as well as kind of a silicone. Dimethicone is a form of silicone that kind of creates barrier and creates a layer on the surface. And so that is where we get that nice glossy look from Lustre Mist, that nice sheen that kind of forms after we polish that surface. Okay. There is no dilution rate. This is an RTU, a ready-to-use chemical, so we do not dilute it. And then there's a couple ways to use it. We can use it with a spray bottle with the white spray head that can come with it, or that they have at the office. The trick when we use it with a spray bottle is we must spray very close to the rag and spray it directly on the rag. We are never going to spray the polish onto the surface that we are planning to polish, because if we have any overspray, as you know, with spray bottles, it doesn't all hit the surface when you spray. Some of it is going to fall before it hits the surface. So if you spray it on the surface and some falls to the floor, you're going to create a slick spot or a polished spot on the floor. If that's carpet, over time, you're going to create wax buildup in the carpet, which is going to collect dirt and grime, and it's going to create a dirty spot in the carpet. If it's on a hard floor, you're going to create a slippery spot, and someone is potentially going to slip when they get back to their office or the location the next time. Okay, so always spray directly on your rag, close to the rag, either over top of a sink or over top of your bucket, or make sure you're close enough that none of that is falling to the floor. Okay. So you can use it with a spray bottle. If you're doing a large area, say in a top to bottom, or if we're doing a construction clean, we can pour that chemical directly into a bucket and dip our rag in it for polishing. Okay, those are the two ways to apply this chemical. The other thing to remember that's very important, as you're going to see here, is I have to wipe the surfaces clean before I apply the Lustre Mist polish. Lustre Mist has no chemical to clean a surface. Okay, it's only going to polish a surface. It only has wax and the silicone to help make the surface shiny, glossy, and glowing again, but it doesn't have anything in it to actually clean that surface. So if your surface is dirty, if there's any grease or grime or dirt on it, and then you try to polish it, you're going to end up creating a very smeary looking finish because the surface wasn't clean before you started. Okay, so you have to clean the surface. You can use just your microfiber and water. You can put a little bit of Rejuvenol in there to kind of cut any of that. You can use Assurance if it's a greasy surface. There is plenty of options to use as far as cleaning the surface ahead of time. Okay, but we want to go through and clean our entire surface. Make sure it's dry, whether you have to dry it and buff it before you start, because you do not want to mix wax with water. Again, it's going to create a film, kind of a greasy layer or a weird kind of hazy look. Okay, so as you saw, I sprayed it directly on my rag. I sprayed it nice and close, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to use that rag to polish my wood. Okay, it's going to give us a nice little finish. It's going to just create, over time, if your surface isn't really dirty, you've wiped all your fingerprints off and stuff like that, over time, as you reapply, you're essentially giving it kind of a finish. You're kind of creating a little bit of it's not varnish, but kind of a wax, like you're creating a buildup that over time, when you buff it with this microfiber, you're actually creating a nice, beautiful look. Now this is a really hard angle. It's going to look wet. It almost looks a little bit worse when I put it on there. But I think that's more the angle of the light than it is actually the what the surface looks like. Because in person, on location, while I'm looking at this, it's beautiful. So it's kind of weird at this angle, and it's really hard to tell until I put it on the computer what that's going to look like. But this really shines up old woodwork. This is brand new woodwork, so obviously it's got a nice shine to it still. It's got a nice veneer or a nice finish on it, varnish, sorry. So your older surfaces that, like I use it on my old wood doors at home that need to be refinished and I don't have time to refinish them, so I will use Lustre Mist to kind of polish up those doors, and it just creates a beautiful shine. I will try to do that and add a picture here towards the end. Okay, so as far as other things we can use the Lustre Mist for, one of the big things we talk about is shining up black plastic. For example, on the rolly chairs in our offices a lot. That is a really good place to use the Lustre Mist. But again, like everything, you have to clean that surface first. So here's an example in my car. On the dash, we have black plastic. This is what it looked like dirty. I took some cleaner in my water, just with microfiber rag, and I cleaned it. And this is what it looked like after I cleaned it, which looked much better, significantly anyway. But once you go ahead and put that Lustre Mist on there, that kind of waxy surface polish, wow, it really makes such a difference. Look at this. It just shines, it glosses. And the cool part is then when you go back to clean it again, it doesn't get quite as dirty as quickly once you do this, okay? And then next comes a before and after of my door. It's a little hard to see in pictures, but it shines up so nicely, even for being really old woodwork. So these are your main uses for Lustre Mist. Again, with continued use, you are going to build up a nice glossy surface, and taking care of overspray, being careful of it. It's a very versatile product.